to another episode of the Here We Go Brownies podcast. I'm your host, Allie Heisong, coming at you from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Joined with me is our good friend, Dustin, out in Boise. Dustin, I like that. I like that background you got going on over there.
Hey, gotta represent where you live, right?
I know. Out in Boise, Idaho. Guys, we want to welcome you and thank you for joining us. This is the Here We Go Brownies podcast. If you're new here, give us a share, give us a like, give us a follow. We appreciate you. We've got a jam-packed show for you tonight. We're going to talk about some Myles Garrett stuff. Obviously, he just got some serious cash, or that's in the works.
That's in the works.
That's in the works.
Allegedly, right? Allegedly.
Well, we know what's happening.
Right.
Then we're going to dive into our comeback and breakout players of the year on both offense and defense. So that's going to be fun. And of course, as always, call in to win prizes. And we have to say it. Shout out to our good friends over at McGrew Designs for giving us these beautiful cups. And if you missed us last week, Dustin, we had a little virtual happy hour. So those of you who were able to join last week, thank you for jumping on. We had a ton of fun. You can catch that on our page, on the Here We Go Brownies Facebook page. Recap of what we talked about on our virtual happy hour. Lots of fun. We were joined by some great people who were able to jump on, talk some Cleveland Browns, have a beverage, and just
that was fun.
Lots of good stuff. Quick shout out to our good buddy Paul Brown podcast, Paul Brown Broadcasting. He's got a whole bunch of stuff going on there, so go check him out. He stayed up all the way from London, I believe.
Yes, and by
somewhere
the way,
in the UK.
Yeah, and he literally said just because it's a Friday night, it's the only reason we had him up that late, because he's like, usually I would be, and he had a meeting. So, but
God bless him. He was up until 3 a.m. his time talking Cleveland Browns to jump on our call. So that was a lot of fun.
And that was a lot of fun. Yeah.
It was so much fun. And shout out to our good friends over at the From the Couch Sports Talk Radio show. So thanks to you guys. Thanks for joining. Dustin, how we doing out there?
Good. We're good. Thank you, by the way, Allie, for the shout out for my birthday yesterday. That was really
happy
sweet.
Birthday. Happy late birthday.
Birthdays are different, right? During COVID, a little different, right?
A little bit different. How'd that work for you? What'd you have going on?
So just some coworkers, friends. We all kind of went out to social distance, right?
Yeah,
did our thing.
Of course.
Here in our city, it's a mandate. You wear masks in our city at this point. Yeah. Some people are, some people aren't. But at restaurants, at least you can sit down and have a nice beverage and just enjoy it. So it was nice. One of my coworkers, I love Snickerdoodles cookies. So she literally made me my own batch of tiny little Snickerdoodle cookies, like a quarter size little Snickerdoodles. I was like, that was pretty cool. So
that's not too bad.
I'm not a cake guy. I'm not really a cake guy.
I agree with you there.
Yeah.
I like it. I can do a little bit, but
like ice cream cake is like my dream cake, right? Like I could do an ice cream cake because I like ice cream. But anyway,
I love ice cream.
So did that. So it wasn't nothing too exciting, but yeah, it was fun. But I'm healthy.
Dustin.
We're healthy, and we're staying safe, so that's good. But no, we're trying to figure out it based on your shirt that you're wearing there, the Big Ten, saying we're only going to play conference games. We're in a non-Power 5 conference out here, so that has the trickle effect. Bowling Green came out and said this is just the tip of the iceberg. So we don't know what college football is going to look like, right?
We don't. We quite frankly don't know what anything's going to look like at this point. I think we're all just trying to be as optimistic as possible.
It's a moving target, right? Day by day, hour by hour, state by state, because they're leaving a lot of this to the medical experts in those communities. Yeah. Some cities are coming back fine, a little slow. Others are having huge breakouts of coronavirus. So, right, there's not one size fits all for anything like that. So, but yeah, let's talk about the biggest news of the day, right? Should we talk about that? The biggest news?
Of course we have to. And I think it's about the guy that's on your shirt. Is that right?
I mean, come on. Like, seriously, I buy the new jersey, I get the new colors, and then the Browns say, hey, maybe we should reward this guy with possibly, I don't know, the biggest contract for a defensive end ever in the National Football League.
The highest paid. Now, it's not finalized yet. So this is all alleged. This is just rumors, reports.
Well, yeah, we're going off of reports from multiple sources. So we're not saying this is a, clad, deal, but we're going off of multiple sources. And you know what? I'm happy for him. Things like this end up making players like this Browns for life.
Yeah.
And you don't see a lot of that in the league, but when you make a move like this, it's like, we want you to be a cornerstone of our football team for a long time. I like it. So
I love it. And I love Myles. I love what he brings to the table. I love what he brings to this team. And at this point in his career, he brings that element of leadership. Now, this is all looking past what happened last year. I think that does not define who he is. But of course, this is per source. Browns are finalizing a 5-year, $125 million extension with Myles Garrett, making him the highest paid defensive end in the National Football League. That's of course above Khalil Mack, Aaron Donald, DeMarcus
Well,
Lawrence.
perfect example, just to
Yeah.
segue there a little bit. I saw a stat that showed, I think Khalil had 46 games or 37 games, or I think it was Myles had 37 games, and he basically had 10 more games, Mac did, than Myles Garrett. And they had the same amount of sacks over the last 3 years. So, I mean, if you think about that, that's pretty impressive to have 10 more games, but he has the same amount of sacks. Myles Garrett does.
So this is really interesting because I think from our last show last week, so much has happened. We have the Olivier Vernon contract restructuring. Then you have David Njoku, and then we jumped on a virtual happy hour. We talked a little bit about that, but at this point, you have Myles Garrett with an extension here, $125 million extension. Then you have the restructuring of the contract for Olivier Vernon. So Dustin, let me ask you, let's dive in head first here.
Sure.
What's this mean for the Browns defense in 2020?
Honestly, it looks like they're finally kind of solidifying. As you see, we signed the linebacker, 3rd rounder. So it seems like they're trying to get everybody firmed up on that side of the ball and get the dollars put in place. I mean, just the fact that all these people are being signed and they're taking care of all that stuff. So I think they're really starting to look at their dollars. It's Andrew Berry, right? It's classic Andrew Berry. Like, let's get these guys in. Let's restructure Olivian. We're out of the Clowney race. Clearly, we're not going to keep chasing that. We gave him the opportunity, and I just think this means that they're just trying to start. I'm not going to use the word alignment, but they're starting to.
Come on, man, join the club.
We're getting a call. Should I take the call?
Let's take the call.
Let's see who it is.
Let's take the call.
All right. Welcome to the Here We Go Brownie Show. Who's this?
Yeah, this is Adam Clark. I'm up here watching your show, and I'm actually so happy that you have signed Myles Garrett to a good extension. It's unbelievable. I put it down with my friends. I said that it was going to be signing him to a nice, good deal, and I was like so happy to see him get a good deal done. And I was like, man, I'm so pumped up.
So tell me again, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Akron.
Oh, from Akron. You're calling us from Akron. And what was your name again?
My name is Adam.
Adam. Well, thanks for being a friend of the program. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, Adam, thank you.
And I agree. Any question you have for Allie or I that you may want to have addressed tonight on the show?
Yeah, this is a good question. Since we already got Myles Garrett in the fold, and since then that the Joker wants to leave, do y'all suspect a trade within maybe before training camp?
Good question. We'll answer that as soon as we hang up here, but I think that's a really good question.
Yeah.
And I think Allie will address that for sure.
Absolutely. We're going to dive into that, Adam. Thank you so much for joining.
Adam, appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being a friend of the show, and thanks for calling, bud.
Yeah, no problem.
Have a blessed night, brother.
No, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you, Adam, for calling in. This is a great question. We're going to dive into that. Dustin, I wrote that down. So once we get to the questions segment, we'll address that one first.
Yeah.
But
nice call, right? To have somebody come in and just call.
Exactly. Guys, the phone lines are open, so give us a call. 216-249-6861. Give us a call now. The 6th. What is it, Dustin? Why don't you recap what we're doing?
So
here?
Adam, we didn't tell you this. So Adam, you can call back in sometime during the show, but winners number 6 and number 7 get custom made. Look at these babies. Custom made COVID dog pound masks to be mailed out to you for caller number 6 and caller number 7. You will win those, and we will mail those out to you. Our friends over at McGrew Designs, she makes all kinds of stuff, cool stuff, not even just brown stuff, but she custom makes everything for us. So she's awesome. So anyway,
Best of the
Call
best.
number 6 and 7. So as we go on, I'll just grab a call if it comes in, Allie. So go
Absolutely. That sounds great. But going back to Myles Garrett, Olivier Vernon, and I think that they solidify those two positions on the defense. I think going into the year, and I always call that interior of the defensive line the anchor, because they spent a lot of money in free agency going out and getting, well, we already had Sheldon Richardson. Larry Ogunjobi's gonna be great this year, I think.
Oh, sure.
Kind of a contract year. Andrew Billings, but then they really need. There were some question marks around what's going to happen at the defensive end position. But I think that with the restructuring of the contract and of course Myles Garrett extension, it answers that question. And you're looking at that four.
Absolutely, yeah.
You getting another one?
Nope, I'm.
Oh! Thought that's where you're going with this, but. But Dustin, just going back to what it means for the defense, I know we've got some young guys in the secondary. We've got some young guys at the linebacker position, but looking at that front four, that's a force to be reckoned with, man.
Absolutely. And if you think about Olivier, I think he feels more, I mean, he's got to feel the most relieved guy on the football team right now has got to be Olivier Vernon, because there was kind of that shadow. Am I coming back? Are you really going to get Clowney? Because if you get Clowney, that means I'm gone, and for them to restructure the deal again, it says, hey, we like you. We would have never traded for you in the first place. If we didn't believe in you, you're here. So I think that says a lot to, hey, we need to get to training camp. We need to not be messing around. Let's just get this deal done and move forward. And I think that's kind of, but let's be honest, that's Kevin Stefanski's kind of way, right? Like matter of fact, let's just get down to business. We got some football to play. So.
And you bring up a good point with Andrew Berry. That's who he is. He kind of came into the season with a checklist of things to do. And one of those things was to extend Myles Garrett. That was kind of step one. So I think at this point you have Andrew Berry in that front office, who's obviously very, very, very intelligent. He knows what he's doing. Yeah. And he's setting the team up for the long term. And I think he's allowing Myles Garrett to be a Cleveland Brown for life.
Yeah.
So with that kind of brings me to my next point, Dustin. We've got a handful of guys that I think are on the same page with things, and we're all kind of bought into having a career year. That kind of brings me to my next segment here with kind of these comeback players versus breakout players. Yep. So when I say breakout player, I mean anybody that can kind of just take that next step and have a career kind of year. When I say comeback player, I obviously mean somebody that maybe took a step back last year, or somebody that can definitely elevate themselves based off of their performance last year. Yep. So let's dive into we're going to do offense and defense here.
Yeah.
So Dustin, I don't know Dustin's answers. He doesn't know mine.
Sometimes we have the same answer, but
sometimes
it's not scripted.
And we probably do, because we're on the same page most of the time. But let's dive into who we believe are going to be the comeback and breakout players of the year for both defense and offense. So let's go ahead and get started on the defense, since that's what we're talking about here. So let's talk about comeback player of the year. Who's your guy?
Comeback player of the year for me is easy. He's been the dominant conversation today, Myles Garrett. Bar none. He got suspended. He has a lot to prove. Could be the sack leader in the National Football League this year.
Should be.
Right. So that's my automatic comeback player of the year. He's got a lot to prove, and he really wants to show that and be a good steward going forward. And I've seen some of the stuff he's done in the offseason with like the family up in Pittsburgh and all the stuff. He's checked all the boxes for me. Mm-hmm. Like he's ready to move on and just focus on football. And he's looked like a freak in his his workouts.
He's not a human being.
Yeah, right. He's kind of like a dinosaur, right? He's retro. Yeah. So, no, he's my comeback player of the year. Like I think, he's going to be the comeback player just because based on what happened last year. I can't think of anybody, but he is the comeback player for me.
I knew you were going to say that. And of course, I clearly think he's going to be a comeback player this year, but that's not who I put here. Partially because I knew you were going to go with him. But two, I think another guy who's definitely took a step back last year, a lot due to injury and a lot due to scheme, but that's Denzel Ward. We saw his rookie season. I mean, breakout player week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, he's absolutely locked down corner. He's super athletic. Of course, last year he was dealing with some hamstring injuries. I think he comes back this year. This scheme's going to fit him. If we look at last year, what Steve Wilkes implemented, and I know we talked about this on our happy hour, you have 2 press man corners with Greedy Williams and Denzel Ward. Locked down, they will go stride for stride. And Steve Wilkes wasn't playing to their strong suits and
Right.
implemented more of a zone scheme.
Right.
So they kind of fell off a little bit, and especially Denzel with those injuries. So I have Denzel Ward comeback player of the year on defense.
Well, and to your point, any of those players that were our first year,
Yep.
any of those guys could be comeback players on defense, just because there was so much that was looked upon that they would do well this last year, and they ended up not doing that. So,
Right.
I mean, not in a bad sense, but like they probably to themselves felt like they underperformed, right, with that unit.
Yep, I agree. I just think there were so many things that happened last year. I think
Greedy Williams could fall into that same.
exactly. I
Greedy
agree.
or Denzel Ward could be the comeback players of the year, right?
Yep,
I mean,
absolutely.
either one of those could be, because there was a lot of pressure put on those guys, right? Because of where they were picked in the draft and stuff like that. So either one of those guys could rise, or both, right? They could be like duo comeback players, and like to your point, lock down those positions, and our defenses or offenses could have a really tough time with that.
Well, and I think too, Dustin, with the guy you picked, Myles Garrett, if he has that comeback type of year, that's going to allow Greedy Williams and Denzel Ward to have
Right.
their comeback player, because
Right.
you get after the quarterback, you get in his face, you pressure him, or you obviously could,
Guess what you're doing? You're throwing the
guess
ball.
what you're doing. You're throwing the ball, and then it's going to allow for the corners to make plays. So
Right.
it really goes hand in hand. So if
Right.
Denzel's doing well, Myles is doing well, and vice versa.
If a quarterback has less time to throw, it's
Exactly.
only Greedy and
beneficial
Denzel's.
to everybody.
Yeah.
So let's move on over to the offense. I'll let you get started with, or I'm sorry, let's talk about breakout player of the year before we slide over to the offense. Breakout player of the year for the defense.
Breakout player, Taki.
Oh.
I really think, again, I've seen this, and I always say this, but Taki, I think, is going to have a breakout year. Like I said, being out here in the West, I've got to see a lot of. So Boise State has a home and away, even though BYU is an independent school,
Sure.
and they don't have. We have a home and away for 10 years. So
wow.
Yeah, so we see them all the time, right?
Uh-huh.
So Taki was a beast. Like, he literally was like a field general out there and would just tear into people. And he kind of stood out as that guy on the defense that you could look at and go, man, like he stands out, like, right. And I think, again, he kind of lived in the shadows last year. I think Taki can be like, you know what? Everybody's complaining about the linebackers. The Browns don't have good linebackers. Oh, we're not going to, oh no. Well, let me show you, right? And so I think Taki may be that guy, and they'll be like, where did this guy come out of BYU? And and so, but if you notice, sometimes those players from the schools that don't get a lot of attention end up being the diamonds in the rough that you never see coming. And I think Taki, because of where he came, he didn't get a lot of attention, right? He came from BYU. We're always on the West Coast. We talk about this. People are in bed by the time we're in prime time, right?
Sure.
So, so he's gonna, we're on ESPN on Friday night at 8:00, which is 10:00 Eastern, and that game's getting over at 1, right? So I think Taki could have that breakout season because he's got all that potential, and I think he'll end up being the one that'll be like, well, where did this guy come from? We didn't hear nothing from him last year. Well, now you are.
Well, you know what's funny about that, Dustin? Last year last year when I was doing the show, or no, I'm sorry, it would have been right after Sione Taki was drafted.
Right.
I got on the podcast. Shout out to Paul. He was the co-host at the time, and he asked me the same question. Hey, Allie, who do you think is going to be the breakout player of the year? Without hesitation, I said Sione Taki. Now, I was wrong. He didn't have a breakout season that year, but for the exact reasons you just said. He was a third-round pick out of BYU, kind of that John Dorsey type of guy. Obviously, John Dorsey selected him. He plays with his hair on fire. He's an animal out there. He can move from sideline to sideline as a linebacker. So I love what he brings to the table. I just think that last year, given the linebacking situation with Joe Schobert, with Kirko, he wasn't given that opportunity, and I think he was a little raw.
He couldn't step into that role, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't even given that opportunity. He was kind of having to earn his stripes, right? And now that some of those players have moved on, it's his position to lose. So I do think, I think he can.
And I think he's an incredibly talented athlete, incredibly talented player. I think he's just kind of a raw talent, and he needed a little bit of coaching and a little bit of development. So for me, I'm going to go down that same path, but I'm not going to say Sione Taki while I agree with you. I'm going to go with Mack Wilson.
Mm.
And I say Mac Wilson because
Linebacker. Going with the linebacker.
for that exact
Yeah.
reason. But I think that Mac Wilson is going to fill a different role than Sione Takitaki. Sione kind of, like I said, he plays with his hair on fire. He's very violent. He's very violent at the point of attack. He's kind of just a ball hawk as a linebacker. But when you think of Mac Wilson, I think he's going to step into that Mike linebacker role, which he played in Alabama, kind of be that coach on the defense, kind of getting guys lined up. Now, I know he's a second-year guy. He was a fifth-round pick. He's got a lot of learning to do himself. But I think that that's going to be his opportunity for leadership and his opportunity for growth. And with that, I think is going to develop his style of play. So I think the linebacking room in general is going to be the breakout. And I think that too, because they're not getting a lot of love right now.
Well, and what a players love is when people think they're not going to perform, they want to prove people wrong, right? Like,
oh, chip on their shoulder.
Yeah, you think the linebackers are way cool. We're going to prove you, and everybody's gonna be like, "Wow, nobody knew the Browns had this linebacking group." Well, they did, right?
Well,
they did. So
I mean, they're young.
Yeah,
they're young, but I really like what they have. And keep in mind too, guys, you have a nice rotational piece in BJ Goodson. You know, there's some good pieces there. So kind of the linebacking room as a whole. Let's move on over to the offense, Dustin. Let's start with comeback player of the year.
Oh, this one's easy for me.
It's easy.
OBJ.
Yep.
For me, it's OBJ. Even his tweets, I've got finished business in the land. Like, he's pretty focused. Yeah. He's got Cam Newton thrown to him. He's got all kinds. I mean, he's getting his work in. I think he also wants to prove all the naysayers wrong and say, look, I can be that legitimate guy that gets 1,000 yards and X amount of touchdowns. So I think he will be the comeback player of the year. And I think he is part of the difference of making the playoffs or not, because he's going to be that vertical threat when you think it's going to the tight end or someone like that, and then he escapes. Because here's the one thing about, if he's open, OBJ has a gift that he can get such short windows and get a ball. And you're like, how did he just catch that and get into that little tiny corner and he's in the end zone? I think that will be the biggest piece this year, is where if we're in tough games and it needs to go to, like, who do I know that if I throw a jump ball up can break off of a defender and get downfield? A healthy, by the way, let's point out, 100% healthy OBJ.
Has to be, has to be.
I mean, he played hurt last year, and he's a prideful person, and he would even say, like, I don't want to say this, but I'm like 70%. Like, I know that I can't go 100, right? Or I'm going to hurt myself more. So as he said, that, I think one of the quotes that was really interesting, he goes, I've been playing for the last 22 years of my life of football. And this is like the first summer that I've actually taken time to like rebuild my body to where I can try to get it back to full strength. So basically he said, I've been playing since I'm 6 years old, and this is all I've ever done in my life, is just play the game and never taken a break to recharge and build my body back up. So I think he's going to be a great player to come back. So, I mean, if there's somebody that, and we need him to come back, right? We need him to be that comeback player. So that's who I picked.
I completely agree with you, but I also went down a different road here, and I think it all starts with, well, I knew where you were going with this, but I think it all starts with Baker Mayfield. So he's going to be my comeback player, and if you look at the 2018 season, the second half of the 2018 season, what he brings to the table.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's out there really questioning his talent. I think they're questioning the decision making, they're questioning the external factors. There was just so much that went into it, and I think he had all the odds against him, with all the hype. Now he's got that chip on his shoulder again. I think this is a prove it year for Baker Mayfield, just like it is for Myles Garrett. And a guy like David Njoku even. I think that this is a prove it year. You have to come back, because if you don't come back this year, they're going to start exploring other options. And I don't think you can really put a lot of money into, or put a lot of stock into a guy like OBJ right now until you're confident that Baker can get him the ball. So I think it all starts there. Of course, it all starts with the offensive line, of course, and I can go on about that all day, but I think comeback player of the year, it absolutely has to be Baker Mayfield.
Yep. And if anybody wants to call in again, the number is 216-249-6861, including Adam. If you'd like to call back, we're going to take call number 6 and 7. You win the masks tonight, the custom-made masks from McGrew Designs. We'd love to have you. We'll take a call, and then we'll answer any question as well.
Absolutely. So while we're waiting on that, Dustin, we'll dive into our breakout player on the offense. Who you got?
Breakout player on the offense. I'm going to go breakout player on the offense. Kareem Hunt.
Interesting.
And I think he will be a breakout player for a lot of reasons. Kevin Stefanski has made it very known that he believes that Kareem Hunt's going to be an integral part of the offense this year. Mm-hmm. Oh, and there's our call.
Let's take the call.
Thanks for calling the Here We Go Brownie Show. Who's this?
Hey, this is Adam.
Hey, Adam, how are you? All right, well, Adam, you're
doing great.
What's that?
Go ahead.
Well, I said you're technically caller number 2, so call back in.
Colin.
But we'll take caller number 6 and encourage some of your friends to call in as well.
Oh, definitely. I like the whole idea where you say, like, for Baker. I've been thinking about this offense and what y'all mentioned about this year. I totally agree.
Yeah, he's going to be he's the field general. So everything's going to stop and start with Baker Mayfield for this year for sure.
Has to be. Now, Adam, let me ask you this before we get you out of here. Tell me about your comeback or breakout player on defense. Who do you have?
Yeah, Adam, who's your breakout and comeback player on defense?
Oh, my comeback is definitely Myles, and then definitely the other comeback is Ward, because then again, both of them gotta redeem themselves from a doubtful year, but then again, we can't.
Yep, I hear you. I agree.
Thank you, Adam, for calling back in. And we'll let some other people jump in on the line here. Thanks, Adam. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, thank you.
All right, Mike. So as you heard, Adam joined us back. Great questions, by the way.
I love Adam.
Adam out of Akron. It sounds perfect. Adam out of Akron.
I like it. Great friend of the show. Thanks for calling in, Adam. But you were going on about Kareem Hunt comeback or breakout player of the year on offense. And I think that's really interesting.
Yeah. So I think just based on Kevin Stefanski saying he's going to be an integral part of the offense, that he is going to be competing for. And I'm going to do a hybrid here.
Okay.
Because I have two comeback players of the year.
Let's hear it.
All right. So Kareem is going to be an integral part of the offense because he can, obviously he can block. He can, there's all kinds of things. He's and he's got great hands. Kareem is I mean, let's not forget 2 years ago, he was in the Pro Bowl. Okay. 2 years ago, Pro Bowler, right?
Very good. Very good. Right. Let's not forget this.
But I think there's going to be not only him, but I'm going to say it, Hollywood Higgins, one of Baker Mayfield's favorite targets when he broke the rookie record for touchdowns was Hollywood Higgins. Hollywood Higgins and him just had that connection.
Yeah, they do.
And I felt at times last year, Baker, with not having, for whatever reason, with the coaching staff, not having Hollywood in there, he felt like he hadn't built the chemistry enough yet with OBJ. He had it with Landry. Yep. You could see he felt comfortable all day long. Hey, I know Landry will get open. Not a big deal. OBJ, I'm still trying to adjust. This is new for me. I didn't have him last year, right? And Hollywood Higgins is just gone, right? One of his kind of guys that just, when he started, I mean, if you think about it, when he came into that game, I'm trying to think, which team were we playing that night that he won that game? The Thursday night game. It's where they opened all the beer bottles.
The Jets. Wow.
Right. But that night, right, that's kind of those guys had that kind of mojo, and it kind of went throughout the rest of the season. And then this is the one thing that I'm getting a little bit off on a tangent here, but frustrates me is like all of a sudden when you take the tools away from somebody to do their job, it makes it more difficult, right? So you have a quarterback that feels really comfortable with Landry, feels really good with Hollywood Higgins, and is trying to adjust. And we're just going to take this away from you. Like, wait, what are you doing? I've built this chemistry for the last year with this guy. And back to your, the one thing that we've talked about, this isn't Baker's fault. He's had 3 offensive coordinators in 3 years. 3 offensive coordinators in 3 years. And the
3 head coaches.
Right. that's tough for any quarterback, let alone trying to
Oh,
solidify yourself as a starter going forward for years. I mean, like that's
in
tough,
your
right?
first 3 years in the league.
Yeah,
That's
it's
insane.
right. So I say I feel comfortable with Baker this year, but just give him the tools that he's used to and fit the offense to what's going to make him the most successful. And so I think with that, I think Hollywood Higgins / Kareem Hunt, they both should elevate from where they were last year.
Yeah, I really like your Hollywood Higgins answer. I'm kind of ashamed of myself that I didn't think of that initially. I love that. I completely agree with you. He was definitely had that chemistry with Baker Mayfield. He was a safety net for Baker because
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
we know that Baker likes to work that middle of the field. And you had at the time before OBJ came in, working that the ends there, you have Jarvis there in the middle, and then you have Hollywood that can go deep. And I don't know. I just think that it was kind of a safety net from day one. But I went a little bit different here. I do. I was going to say David Njoku. But knowing what we know now, he's obviously requested a trade.
Well, but have you also heard what the Browns have said? We're keeping him.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
But I still think if he plays and he's bought in, he's all in, he's ready to go, I think it's him. I think there's no question about that. And I can say this till I'm blue in the face that him and Austin Hooper are perfect complements. They're not the same tight end. They have two different skill sets, but they're going to be used perfectly in the Kevin Stefanski offense.
Yeah.
You have David Njoku, who's kind of that big-bodied tight end, athletic basketball type of tight end or big-bodied receiver even. Can work on his blocking. He needs to work on his hands. But then you have Austin Hooper who can provide that skill set.
Right.
So,
yeah, they complement each other, right?
Yeah.
Depending on what's being thrown at him on defense. Yeah.
So if he doesn't request a trade, I probably would have gone with David Njoku. But we don't know what's going to happen there. We don't know if he's going to be bought in or if he's going to try to sit out. We don't know. Right. So because of that, I actually went with Austin Hooper, and I say that just based off of the Kevin Stefanski offense and how we know that he likes to use those heavy sets, two tight end formations, and he's just going to get the ball a lot. He's going to be super productive. So I think he's going to have a breakout season statistically speaking.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think he's going to be one of those journeyman type of tight ends. It's interesting the way the Browns have went about signing their players and what they're doing here. It almost, they have a 3 to 5 year window, right?
Yeah.
They know this is their 3 to 5 year window. Baker's on his first contract, right? And they kind of know this is what they have to work with. Mm-hmm. So if they're going to get it right, it's going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years. I mean, that's the shelf life here. And I think that's why you sign a Hooper to that contract. That's why you sign a Myles Garrett. That's why we got a call. Let's take the call real quick. Thanks for calling the Here We Go Brownie Show. Who's this? Hello?
Hello?
Who's this?
Hey, I'm calling Dustin. This is Dave Burns.
Dave Burns!
Dave Burns, good friend of the program. How we doing, Dave?
Dave, we were I know you use the wife's technology of your phone, but I got to tell you, we were so happy that you were so loyal that you stayed on and watched us, even though you were driving down the road and doing your day and watching, was it your grandkids' baseball game?
Baseball,
softball, yeah. So we thought that's a pretty loyal person if they're tuning in and multitasking, watching a grandson's baseball game and the Here We Go Brownie Show.
Comedy, it was good stuff.
I couldn't miss it, but I couldn't drink a beer. That was my bad problem.
Oh, that's true. You couldn't drink a beer because I
had one for you, Dave. I'll have one for you.
So Dave,
couldn't drink a beer.
So Dave,
the thing is,
go ahead.
Okay, my question is today is we're talking about the breakout player of the year for the season, and so far, and not myself included, I've been thinking, what about Richardson on defense?
Oh.
What about Sheldon?
Oh, Sheldon. Yeah, Sheldon. Yeah.
I like that question. I'm excited to dive headfirst into this one, Dave. This is a great question. We will answer that off air,
Sheldon Richardson, like that. Who's your comeback player, Dave?
Man, I would say it's probably got to be Hunt.
Kareem Hunt. Oh, okay, yeah. Kareem Hunt.
Yeah. I mean, with what he did in the last half of the season, then come in here with a full season, catching out of the backfield. It's just,
I think he's going to be a big factor, but I'm a believer the ball's got to go to Jarvis and Chubb.
Chubb and Jarvis, yeah. Well, and to your point,
I think that's going to be the big playmaker.
Well, and to your point, I mean, how many teams would love to have the fortunate, to have two number one draft, two number one running backs? I mean, we can go back in a long time ago.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can go back to Mac and Biner. You can go back to Zonk and Kick, and then you throw Murphy Morris in there, and I mean, it's been a long time.
Well, and if you look at the Browns teams going back to the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, when we had two dominant running backs that just pulverized defenses, we kind of forced our will on teams, so good point. Well, thanks. Well, thanks, Dave. We appreciate the call. We appreciate. All right. Talk to you later.
Shout out to our good buddy, Dave Burns. Guys, if you missed it, you have to go back and watch our virtual happy hour. Dave joined. Now, Dave has a flip phone. So, he's old school. He's old school. He's great. He has a flip phone.
Now his wife, to her testament, she's new school.
Yeah, so she has modern technology.
He literally downloaded the app on the wife's phone just so he could catch the show and watch his grandchild's baseball / softball game, and it was classic.
It was so funny, guys. We're live on the show on the virtual happy hour, and you see Dave Burns putting his lawn chairs back in the car, driving and talking Cleveland Browns.
No, he wasn't on the phone. The phone was just there. He wasn't driving.
But he was talking football. I mean, it was a good time. You guys got to go back and check that out. But he asked a really good question, Dustin, about Sheldon Richardson.
Yeah.
I know he's not getting a lot of love right now, but if you go back last year, he was a huge free agent signing. Huge. Yeah. I mean, obviously with what John Dorsey did, the past couple of years, acquired a ton of talent. Did it all pan out? No, because there wasn't a scheme in place for it to work.
Right.
But bringing in a guy like Sheldon Richardson was huge. And I think he's a great candidate for comeback player of the year, especially now that you solidify those two defensive end positions. It's going to allow that center of the defensive line to get pressure, to stop the run, and to be very, very productive.
Yep.
I love it.
I think our defensive front is going to be, well, and I've always said this about football in general, it all starts with your offense and defensive lines.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't have good offense and defensive lines, other parts of your offense or defense get exposed pretty quickly, right?
Very quickly.
Yeah. So if you have depth at both of those positions, you're in good shape. And we've talked about this at length before. We saw in one football game multiple offensive linemen going out of the game to okay, we're in trouble in the rest of this football game because there's not anybody else down that depth chart, right? We're down to the bones at this point. So, but yeah, I think he brings up a good point. Sheldon could really, be that kind of guy that kind of forces his way around the middle of the.
Here's another one, Dustin. And real quick, I want to give a shout out to our new friend of the program. I'm going to butcher his name, but Aaron Wojcicki. Let's take it.
Okay. Thanks for calling the Here We Go Brownie Show. Who's this? Oh, nobody was there.
Nobody's there.
Whoever that was, if you want to call back into the show, we'd love to have you. Because we're up to
249-6861. Give us a ring.
Yeah, because we're a couple calls away from winning prizes at this point.
Two more. Two more and you win a prize.
216-249-6861. One more call, and then the two calls after that.
Yep.
You're in the prize.
Winner chicken dinner. But as
sorry,
I was
go ahead and tell you.
I was just giving a shout out to our new friend, Aaron Wojcicki. I believe I'm saying that correctly. I'm probably butchering it. He just said that he just stumbled upon our show. So we want to give a shout out to him. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Yeah. So guys, if you're new here, join. We like to interact with you guys. We love you. We appreciate you. Drop your comments, questions in the comment section. We'll address that here as we go on. Again, give us a call, 216-249-6861. And then I also want to give a shout out to our other friend, Mike Pellegrini. He's another fan from the UK.
Really?
So we've got
Is this a new one?
This is a new guy. So Mike, thanks for joining. He said
maybe some of those folks some of those folks from Josh or Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. So we want to thank you guys for joining, staying up late. So Mike, we want to wish you well. And I see that you just got back from the hospital. So well wishes to you, thoughts, prayers, stay safe, stay healthy out there.
Allie, going to take another call.
Let's take it.
Thanks for joining the Here We Go Brownie Show. How are you? I'm great. How are you? Who's this?
Brad?
Brad? Where are you calling from, Brad?
Yeah. Bowling Green, Ohio.
Bowling Green,
Brad from
Ohio.
Bowling Green. How are we doing,
Great.
Brad? How's it going out there in Bowling Green?
Great.
Great.
Good. Well, thanks for
So-
joining.
So what question do you have for Allie? Or do you want to give us your comeback player and breakout players on offense and defense? We would love to get your take, Brad.
I had a question. I was wondering, first I wanted to confirm, Myles Garrett just signed a contract, right?
So it hasn't been confirmed, finalized, but there are multiple reports saying it's a 5-year, 20.
5-year, 125 million.
125 million?
So
Yeah.
that would make, that's 25 million a year, making him, would make him the highest paid defensive end in the National Football League.
Yep. Highest paid defender in the NFL. So
Defender, by the way.
Yes.
Sorry, not only defensive end, but
not only defensive end, but defender.
So
That's the main reason why I called. I just thought maybe you guys confirmed that, if you knew about it or not.
no, all the sources say that there's definitely, it's definitely, when you, as I always say, when you see those smoke screens, they're basically saying that they're just probably working out the little minute details and stuff like that. But it sounds like the ownership and the coaching staff definitely believe in Myles Garrett for a long, long time.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
Well, I think
Awesome.
Baker Mayfield's going to do very well this year, I think.
I have a sneaking suspicion he's going to silence a lot of his naysayers.
He's going to be the comeback player of the year, I think.
There we go.
I agree with you, Brad. I think that this Kevin Stefanski offense is just going to work well with his strong suit. So, and yes, just to clarify on that contract for Myles Garrett, what that means is they're just kind of working through some of the quirks, some of the kinks of that, just kind of ironing out the final details. But I would imagine, Dustin, that probably towards the later part of this week, we'll actually see that finalized.
Yeah, it'll be an official news
Okay.
release and statement probably from the Browns.
Yep. So awesome, Brad from Bowling Green. Thanks for giving us a call. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Brad.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
Brad
Allie-
from Bowling
I'm
Green.
gonna point out we've had Adam from Akron,
Yep, I know.
Brad from Bowling Green. So now we need like a C from a C.
Yeah, I know.
Chad from Cleveland, maybe Chad from
Come
Cleveland.
on, Chad from Cleveland, give us a call.
Okay, by the way,
What's up?
guys, 216-249-6861. The next two callers are winning prizes. So even if you've called in before, I'm 100% okay with that. You can just tell us who you are, call back in, 216-249-6861. If you're a new caller, you can answer our questions on comeback player of the year, breakout player of the year for offense and defense, or ask Allie or I a question specifically, just like Brad did about the Myles Garrett contract. So either one, but next two callers, folks, you're getting these right here. These are yours.
And you
custom
can be
made from our
safe
friends.
in style.
Yeah.
Protect yourself from the coronavirus with style from McGrew Designs.
Try to be COVID free from our good
Yes.
friends at Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Stay safe. Stay healthy out there. So while we're waiting on those, we've got next two callers win prizes. So give us a call, 216-249-6861, guys. And of course, drop your comments, questions there in the comments. Dustin, let's go ahead and get back to our good friend. Oh, let's take it.
Got a
Let's take
call.
it.
Thanks for joining the Here We Go Brownie Show. Who's this?
Hey, this is Dave Burns again.
Dave.
Dave
Burns.
Burns.
All right, Dave. All right, Dave. Which one do you want? The orange or the brown one?
I want the brown one.
All right, brown for Dave Burns. All right, Dave, it's yours. Thanks for watching the show.
Okay.
Bye.
Hey, I just got a
Go ahead.
A little thing with the Myles Garrett thing. How bad do you think the Steelers are over there fighting their tongue about Myles Garrett getting this kind of money?
Well, I bet you they're all, well, first of all, they're going to have to worry about him.
They are for a long time. For
For
a
a long
long time. Whether that's Big Ben back there or the next guy, they're
Yeah,
going to have
I'm
an
sure-
issue on their
yeah,
hands.
I'm sure they're biting their tongue a little bit.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
appreciate the call.
Okay, buddy.
All right, we'll get that out to you.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner, Dave Burns flip phone.
So Do we have Dave Burns' information to
Yes.
send him
Yep,
out?
I've got it. We'll send him something out there.
Okay.
So thanks,
All right,
Dave.
guys.
Great friend of the
Lucky
program.
number 7. Whoever calls in now, Dave, you can't win 2 prizes. But if somebody else wants to call in at this point, you have the orange mask. You know, some people look great in orange. There it is. It's yours. It's custom made. They're double cloth, so they're actually very protective. They have the little elastic, so they're really cool, custom made. Whoever the next caller is. But anyway, you were saying, go ahead, Al. You were on.
Our good friend Adam from Akron, he asked the question. You know, with the extension to Myles Garrett and with the restructuring of Olivier Vernon, and now you have David Njoku wanting out of here. He's asking, do you see them making that trade? And I know we talked about this in our virtual happy hour, but let's kind of bring it back to life just a little bit more here. Do you see them making the trade? I know that the Browns came out and said, we're not trading them. We have no interest. We're not doing it. But do you think, you know,
that was a really good impersonation.
Thank you. I've been practicing that. Do you think that, you know, in the next, I don't know, in the upcoming weeks that the Browns might actually explore this? Are they going to take calls? Well, I think I just answered my question. Of course, they're going to take calls.
Every franchise is every franchise.
Yeah, everybody's got a price,
right?
But
I mean, like, think about it. If somebody called and said, "Hey, we'll give you 3 first-round draft picks for Baker Mayfield," of course they're going to take that call, right? Like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like,
depending on who the team is,
right? But I'm saying if somebody's going to give you a crazy astronomical, you're going to take the call. But no, I think the Browns are going to keep their powder dry. We talked about this a little bit, you know, on the last show. Like, I personally like David Njoku. I think he's a freak of an athlete. So like you said, he's athletic. You know, but Andrew Berry early on, even before, you know, when they re-signed him, you know, to the option and all that, they basically said, you know, he's part of our offense going forward. We think he's an integral part of Stefanski and what he does, right? And I don't know. It just seemed a little odd to me that all of a sudden he fires his agent, he hires Drew. You know, I think it's in my best interest to get out. I think the Browns do genuinely like him and genuinely want him to be a part of the offense. And I think the two of those together, to your point, can be very, very dynamic. And here's how I look at it when it comes to players' trades. A lot of people, even in our own world, think the grass is always greener on the other side, right? And we don't know how green it is till we get there. Well, do you think the Browns are a playoff team this year? I think there's a lot of people that would argue they have playoff potential. If you get traded to another team, you have some say. But if you go to the Jacksonville Jaguars, are you going to see I mean, you know what I mean?
You know what? Actually, hang on. We're gonna go down this a little bit because David Njoku requested trade. So obviously, I'm a total Browns dork, and I listen to everything that I can regarding the Cleveland Browns. But I always listen to Cleveland Browns Daily with Bo Bishop, Nathan Segura. They're great. But Nathan, he kind of broke it down and said, you know what? Let's look at it from David's perspective only. Sure. He's probably thinking, if I'm in this offense, they go out, they draft Harrison Bryant, they bring in Austin Hooper. Am I really going to be tight end 1 in this offense? No. Probably not. And we know that to be true. He's probably not going to be. It's probably going to be 1 and 1A. But right. What Dave is probably thinking as he goes into, you know, they picked up the 5th-year option, as he goes into, you know, the final part of his rookie contract, he's looking at that extension. He's looking at what Myles Garrett's getting. He's looking at that big money contract, and he's probably not going to get it if he has a year like he did last year, or if he's not exceeding statistically.
Sure. Yeah.
If he's wide receiver 1A or 1B.
Right.
So if you're looking at it from that perspective, he probably wants to go somewhere where he will be tight end number one, and he's getting a bunch of reps. And Nathan actually said somewhere like a Jacksonville, whose offense is going to be absolutely probably anemic, and they're going to work the middle of the field, and they're going to need somebody like a David Njoku. That way he can boost his numbers and then get paid.
Right.
I'm like, from that perspective, makes sense.
Yeah, and that totally makes sense because now you're the number 1 guy and you're getting those reps. But I will tell you, like, the one thing that it's different than college ball, the NFL in this sense. As a fan, I see this all the time. You get to those last 3 or 4 weeks, and you see it, Allie. If these teams aren't fighting for a playoff spot or they don't have anything to play for, their intensity level comes like, So I look at it like, Njoku, stay. Wouldn't you like to be a part of, a playoff team? Say you make the playoffs. let's knock on wood here. The Browns make the Super Bowl. Guess what? Will this opportunity ever make it again? Will you have this opportunity ever again in your life in the National Football League? And oh, by the way, if you actually make it to the Super Bowl and you're the 1 and 1A, as you pointed out, Allie, you have a lot of, now
you have a lot of leverage at that point.
Well, yeah, not only did you contribute in a playoff game or in the playoffs, you're now a free agent. Now, right, to his point, the Browns kind of have, okay, we want to bring you back in on this deal. If Njoku says no, well, now he doesn't get shipped to Jacksonville, right? He doesn't get shipped to that. Maybe Dallas Cowboys come in and say, hey, we got a lot of tools over here. We need a tight end. You want to come be a free agent? I just think sometimes the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think those two together could be dangerous.
I agree with you.
And guess what? I would rather hedge my bet on the side of a team that looks like they're going to go to the playoffs to a team that may not be there for 3 years or 2 years or whatever. Yeah. I'd rather, and you see a lot of players. New England does a great example of this. Players will go, and this is, before Tom Brady would leave, but players would want to go play in New England for what reason? The number one reason, the highly chance that they were going to be in the playoffs and contending for a Super Bowl every single year in, year out. Yep. So it didn't matter who they were. They would go there just for the chance and the opportunity. And I think sometimes the Browns have gotten a bad rap, right? Because we haven't won the playoff game in forever. We haven't been there. But once that culture has finally changed for the good going forward, and I'm knocking on wood here, I think it changes this year. And I think people are going to be like, man, wouldn't that have been cool to be part of that team, right? And I think players sometimes just have to come back and bring it all back in. It's more about team, not individuals. And I think Stefanski is a very team kind of guy, so I like that. And I think if Landry is a very team kind of guy, when you look at it that way, like, hey, I have an opportunity here. This is special. Even Landry said, bringing OBJ here, they giggled with each other. Like, they were like, can you believe that we are back together playing on the same football game like we were at, this is crazy, right? Like, this is like a dream. Once you get team concept, I think Njoku could really buy into that. Because then, does he really care at that point? If you've won 11 games and you're going to the playoffs, you're on a playoff team. Yeah. That's just me. I mean, like,
hey, I'm completely with you, Dustin. I think it's in his best interest to stay. I think, I'm young myself. David Njoku just turned 24. I understand chasing the money and chasing the opportunity. I totally get it. But if you're looking at it from a football perspective and from a Browns perspective, it is in his best interest to stay. It truly is. Like we said, with all that the Browns have done this offseason, it's literally a beautiful, scene for David Njoku. They bring in Austin Hooper. They bring in a head coach that runs a heavy 2 tight end set. Right. So this is literally perfect for a guy like David Njoku, and it fires me up just a little bit because I'm like, wake up, man. But
here's the thing: the Browns would have never exercised that option if they didn't see him as an integral part of their offense that year. Yeah. Like, they just would be like, they just wouldn't, right? They'd let him, explore free agency.
Here's the thing. When push comes to shove, I hope he's a Cleveland Brown in 2020 going into the season. I hope so. I think he's going to be great. I think he has a comeback season. But let's answer the question, Dustin. When push comes to shove, is he traded by training camp? Yes or no?
No. I'm going no.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he is.
No.
Now, I think if he would have had a better season last year, there was a little bit more value for him, we might be going down that road.
Right.
But with what they just did with Myles Garrett, if they're really going to extend him here, they're putting their money where their mouth is. They're going to, they know what they're doing. Yeah. They're strategic. I think he's a Cleveland Brown in 2020, and then we'll see how that goes.
Let's see if we can get our last caller in here. 216-249-6861. Can't be Dave Burns. But it can be
flip phone Dave. Can't
it can be Adam from Akron. If Adam from Akron wants to call back.
It can be Adam from Akron. It can be Brad from Bowling Green. Or it can be Chad from Cleveland.
Right. So then you can wear the mask. It can be for you, your significant other, or whatever, but we'll get it out to you. Allie, any kind of thoughts or anything going around the league that you want to address? I know we didn't really get into the Indians on any previous shows. I'm a big baseball fan myself. I've been to many Indians games up here in Seattle. I've been to games. I was there the night Manny Ramirez broke the American League RBI. I mean, it was pretty phenomenal to be at Jacobs Field that night. Safeco, well, or
Yep.
Jacob, it's changed names, but I'm indifferent on the name change. Like at the end of the day, is people. This is my perspective on it. We live in a new age and a new era of things, and at the end of the day, it's Cleveland, right? Like it doesn't matter what the name is. You're rooting for the city. And if I've learned anything about Cleveland in my life, people love their city. They love they love their teams. And that's why the Browns got a team back, right?
Yeah.
That's how we got our team back, because they fought tooth and nail and clawed and said, you know what? You may get to change the name and call them the Ravens, but you're never going to steal our Browns.
Nope.
So this city, if it changes to the Cleveland Spiders, that's my personal choice. I think that'd be kind of a cool name. But it's the city, right? We don't lose the team. It's
Right.
all about the team, so if it has to be a different name, we'll live with that. But it's about rooting for that baseball team that's in Cleveland, because these teams mean that it's the team and the tradition of taking your kids or family to these games, like yourself, right? Like
Yep.
you grew up going to games, and I think it's more about the team, especially for a city like Cleveland, as blue collar and
yeah. And I don't mean to change the subject here. I want to come back to this. But did you grow up? I know you're out in Boise. Did you grow up as a Cleveland Indians fan as well?
I did. So I got brainwashed into all of it. And I like even the Cavaliers, like to the point, and can't believe I'm going to admit this on live video. I have never lived in Cleveland, folks, but after going to games and being around all the transplant fans that are all over the country, right? So there's a whole group of us out here. I cried the night the Cavaliers. I shed a tear.
I can cry right now thinking about it, Dustin.
But I shed a tear, and people were like looking at me like, whoa, like you didn't even grow up there. I said, you have no idea what this means to that city and those fans.
Dustin, I could literally cry right now just thinking about
it. But I was like, this means so much. And I said, you know why LeBron is bawling like a baby at midcourt? Because he knows that he has literally taken an 800-pound gorilla and elephant off the shoulders of every fan in that city, because that's all he wanted was a championship, right? They didn't care if it was the Indians. They didn't care if it was the Browns, the Cavs.
We won.
They were the longest suffering city in the United States without a championship. Now, with that said, sidebar, I don't know if you saw this. Maybe it's a good thing we had our virtual happy hour. Cleveland was rated the most stressed out city in America. I don't know if you saw that.
That's probably true.
But to that said, like I told people, if Cleveland ever wins the Super Bowl, like you might as well, it's gonna get crazy. Like
God bless America. Wow, Dustin, I don't mean to go too much into the Indians here, but who was your favorite player growing up? Who's your favorite Cleveland Indian?
My favorite, well, I have a lot. So I have a really good story. I was in Seattle of all places. So up here, they always played the Mariners. So my uncle lived in Seattle, so I'd always go watch the Indians series, right?
Yep.
And I remember setting down Omar Vizquel, Little O, right? I mean the guy bare hand, right? And he literally came over and he saw that I had this mitt, like a glove, and he goes. And Omar was known for not signing stuff. Like he was notorious for not signing stuff. Like I have a glove that's got Jim Thome, Manny Ramirez, you name it, it's all in this glove, right? Because these guys, they don't get hounded by fans on away cities, right? So there's less of those kind of fans. And Little O came up the tunnel and along the side there, and he goes, I bet you don't have my autograph. And like almost like kind of bait me a little bit. I'm like, actually, I don't. I've heard you don't ever sign. And he goes, well, let me see your mitt. And he throws the mitt down. He signs it. And then he goes, and I know you don't have one of these. And he throws up one of his gloves. He throws me up a glove.
What?
And I was like, he goes, and I said, because I had an Omar Vizquel jersey on. I'm like, because I respected what he did in the game. Like, I mean, to barehand, and he may to this day have one of the greatest, non-air, of all
Yeah.
time. And what he could do with a bare hand, and that what that did to get the guy out at first or second, what he did, and everybody's like, whoa, like it was. So little O was always like, I called him little O, because he was always. But and if you look at his career, he played for a long time.
Yeah,
Like
did.
even after Cleveland, he played for multiple, because he just was so versatile. And so, but little O and Kenny Lofton were kind of those.
Oh yeah.
So those two guys. But those teams of the 90s and early 2000s, they were juggernauts.
They were just so much fun. I mean,
I
was a little. My favorite all time, my go-to guy. Of course, you've got all those guys you just listed, but my guy was Jim Thome.
Oh, Jim Thome.
Big Jim. I loved him to this day. Like if I just kind of get goosebumps just thinking about them, just thinking about that team, thinking about who they were, what they did for the city of the Cleveland. Of course, they never won, but like just being so close and what they did. I know this isn't where we meant to go with this conversation about the Indians, but it just
they had a great manager that we want to get on this show someday.
Yes.
I'd love to talk shop with him. But funny side story as well. Same kind of thing happened afterwards. Because these guys never really got hounded, right, when they're in other cities. I remember walking out and just wanting to get some autographs with my friends, and the pitchers all walked out. Jack McDowell, Oral Hershiser, Charles Nagy, all the starting pitching staff walked out, and they were like, "Don't make a scene, just walk with us over to the cab." And they're just literally signing my glove. It's Oral Hershiser, and I'm just like, this is so cool, because all they were going to go was going to go out and have dinner, right? Because they're in an away city. But I was like, it was just cool to have that experience, because I know people in Cleveland can experience that same thing. But when they're not hundreds of people around them, they kind of let down their guard. I mean, you know what I mean? They don't feel like they're hounded. But it was just a cool. So I'd always go up there. But I came back for several games at the Jake.
Best place on earth.
Yeah, but I've never been to a Cavs game in Cleveland.
Lots of fun.
Good times. But I had friends that went to a game, and I'd go to watch the Cavs play the Utah Jazz, because it's literally 5 hours away. And I don't know, we've talked about this, but I actually got to see, I told you last February, I got to go behind the scenes, because my friend now lives back down in Phoenix. We've had this conversation, but to see LeBron James in the hallway with Jones, the general manager, playing the Lakers, I was like, okay, there he is. Like,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it was like, but yeah, so it's been weird. Some of my experiences have been with away games, right? Because of proximity, but no, I'm okay. If they change the name, Terry Francona's come out and said, I've lived a long life, right? And he even said, in my wisdom and years, even I have been brought to realize things. So I thought that was very interesting to come from.
I definitely did mean to get on that tangent of favorite players and just Cleveland Indians memories, but that's what it does.
And I didn't mean to make it emotional,
No. Hey, I'm here for it all day, every day. But that's what this does, guys. When you bring up something like this, talking about changing the name of something that you love so much, it's not about the name. It's about the experience, right? It's about the city and about the memories. It's not about the name of the team. So, I think we're in the same boat here, Dustin. It's we're living in a new world. Things are different, and you have to adapt and adjust and understand the why behind things, the bigger picture.
Right. The why is the key.
It's all about the why, and you can't be closed-minded. You can't put your blinders on. You have to understand the bigger picture here. So with that, I didn't mean to get too much on a tangent there, but it just resurfaces so many memories, right? And that's what it's supposed to do. But I'm with you. I like the spiders. I wouldn't hate that one. But we're going a little long here, guys. We're going to open up the phone lines. They're still open. We'll 5 more minutes here. 216-249-6861. So give us a call. You automatically win. All you have to do is call that number. You win a prize, and you get to be on the show and ask a question. But while we're doing that, our good buddy, Rich Householder, he says, who's your favorite Browns player of all time? Dustin, I'm going to let you take that one real quick.
Ooh, my favorite Browns player of all time. All time?
All time. That's what he says.
Well, can I do pre 99 and post 99? Does that make sense?
Let's do that. Yeah, let's do that.
So, and if you're out there, we want you on the show, by the way.
We do. We want you on the show.
Eric Metcalf. He was electric. Watching him return that football and run it back for touchdowns. Eric Metcalf was some of my youngest youth remembering Eric Metcalf, and I was like, wow, look at this kid's doing. Like, this is phenomenal. Like two touchdowns, against Pittsburgh. Like, who doesn't love that, right? And like changing that whole game around. And then post, there's our caller.
There's our call. Winner, chicken dinner. Let's take it.
Any guesses? A newbie? What do you think?
I don't know. Let's hear it.
Thanks for calling the Here We Go Brownie Show. Who's this?
My name's Aaron.
Aaron, welcome to the program. So where are you calling from, Aaron?
How you guys? I'm calling from Arkansas.
Aaron from Arkansas.
Aaron from Arkansas. Okay, by the way, this is a trifecta. We had Brad from Bowling Green, Adam from Akron, and Aaron from Arkansas. This is, how do you pull this off? So are you a transplant from Cleveland to Arkansas?
No, I was born and raised here. I dated a girl that lives in Cleveland. And
it's always about a girl. No, go on.
I made quite a few trips up there, and
okay.
I just fell in love with the city, and I fell in love with it. And I still live here. My kids are here. My family's here.
Okay.
But I fell in love with the city, and every chance I get to go up there, I go up there.
That's really cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, what part of Arkansas are you in?
The city's called Danville. It's in the northwest part of the state.
So, what's the closest big
Near
city?
Oklahoma.
Almost up in Oklahoma. Okay. Dansville, Arkansas. Well, so will you do me a favor? Send your information to the Here We Go Brownies page, the message board there with your address and stuff. And we will get you out the dog pound mask because you want it. The orange one.
Winner, chicken dinner, man.
So you can sport that. So do you have a question for Allie and I before we hang up with you?
I do. So, we're probably not going to have fans in the stands this year. It's pretty obvious. If there's a season, the fans probably won't be there.
Or limited.
Do you think that's going to hurt? Or limited, yeah. Do you think for a young team and a team with like the emotional, like Baker can be an emotional player, he can feed off the energy. You think that could hurt the team any, not having fans there to like cheer him on? And I know on the road it might not be so bad, but at home, especially for a guy like Baker, that I watched him in Oklahoma, so I know he can get fired up when the crowd gets fired up.
Sure.
And
sure.
Do you think that could hurt the team any?
That's a great question.
That's a great question.
We will answer that offline, Aaron. And then, like I said, please leave your information there so we can send that out to you. Thanks for joining the program and thanks for calling in.
And thank you so much. Check us out. We're on every Tuesday, Aaron.
All right. Thanks. Go Browns.
Great question out of Aaron from Arkansas. So let's touch on this real quick, Dustin, then we'll wrap up. I know we talked about this with our friend Josh over in the UK. He even said this, this could kind of pose a threat. You don't have that home field advantage. So we talked about the Cowboys game, the Browns Cowboys. If there's no fans there, what's that like? Do the Cowboys get the benefit of the doubt, the home field advantage?
Yep.
Does it help or does it hurt? So I think to answer his question, it will. It'll definitely be different. It's going to be more of a scrimmage based setting. Right. I'm sure the guys are still going to get fired up. I'm sure it's still going to be a lot of fun. Is it going to be the same? No, you're not going to have that same electric energy. You probably don't have that Thursday night win against the Jets a couple of years ago. Things like that may or may not happen. Or
do they pipe in the sound? That hasn't really been brought up to us, right? Could you pipe in? Will that be allowed to bring fake noise in, right? There'll be all these kind of dynamics, right? Will teams be allowed to do that? Will they not be allowed? So I have a little different perspective on this, and here's how I look at it. I've seen some rankings, and we know these are all rankings, and it's just on paper. The Browns, second to the Kansas City Chiefs, have been said has the best team on paper. And when I look at that, and I look at our schedule, you don't have the Pittsburgh Steelers fans screaming down on you. You don't have away teams screaming down on you. And when you're in your own home stadium, well, you're comfortable there. It's your home, right? So to me, it comes down to matchups on paper at that point. So when you take crowds out of it, now how do I match up scheme-wise to this team, right? You're inferior to me based on what I have on the field. And by the way, yelling, there aren't going to be false starts, right? There aren't going to be all these things to throw me off.
That's a really interesting point. Yeah.
Guess what? The 12th man in Seattle no longer exists,
No
right?
longer. Get out
Right.
of here.
Right. So do I think that is to the advantage of the Browns? I think it's actually to the advantage. You have a young team. They're talented and they're just playing with pure talent. So I
like
think
that. Yeah.
so I think when you look at it from that perspective, it actually helps the teams that are good on paper in some ways because they don't get the emotional, swings of a football game where, the fans get behind what a player did in sacks. Now, will it change the game? Yeah, but I think for a team like Cleveland, it's
Mhm.
going to come down to coaching, players, and scheme. And if you take the fans out of it, it's
Well, then you're just
survival of
going
the
out and
fit.
playing football.
It's
And
just survival of the fittest.
yeah, Dustin, I really like that you bring that up. That's a really good point. And I think it really helps like a team like Cleveland, who's kind of flying under the radar this year,
Yeah.
who hasn't had a lot of hype, who hasn't had to deal with what we dealt with last year. So you kind of take that element out of it. More people aren't going to be, maybe not tuned in.
Mm-hmm.
It just comes down to, roster versus roster, scheme
Yep.
versus scheme, coaching versus coaching. That's a really good point. Good
Yeah.
breakdown there. Good
Well,
breakdown. All right. Well, we went
that's
a
a
little
wrap.
over. Long show tonight, but we appreciate all that have interacted with us, who have called in. So thanks to you guys. We'll get our winners some prizes sent out. Quick shout out to our good friends over at McGrew Designs. Dustin, any closing thoughts before we wrap up here?
Well, I don't think in the history of our show have we had a B from Bowling Green, an A from Arkansas, and just that was pretty.
That was funny.
If we were playing the lottery or like gambling, that would have been like
I
a
gotta
royal
go play the
flush.
lottery tonight, I guess.
Yeah.
Winner, chicken dinner.
But no, Allie, it was a great show. Thanks for all the interaction. Thanks for your folks. Thanks for the loyal folks that tune in every week.
Every week.
We appreciate you, Dave Burns, some of those that are our loyal listeners. And thanks for the new ones from across the pond.
Yes.
Thanks. What a great story from Aaron in Arkansas. Met a girl in Cleveland, right? And didn't keep the girl. What a great story, right? That's like, you could write a song about that, right?
It's a country song right there.
Met a girl in Cleveland, but I fell in love with the Browns. There it is.
I'm writing it. Sorry, Aaron. It's my song. I'm calling our boy Brad Paisley.
Yeah.
He can put that to music.
Yeah, there it is. I didn't get the girl, but I fell in love with the team. There you go, Brad. There's your next #1 hit. There you go.
How cool is that? Guys, you can catch us next Tuesday at 8 o'clock. We're excited. Great show, Dustin. Stay safe. Stay healthy out there, guys. And as always, go Browns.
Go Browns.